You know that friend you trust with your life? Yes, that one. The one who knows everything about you? This story is going to make you look at that person differently. Stay with me till the end because the twist will leave your mouth open. There is a betrayal that only a best friend can deliver, not because they are your greatest enemy, but because they are the only person close enough to truly destroy you. Kemi thought she knew everything about her best friend Tolu. 15 years of friendship, bridesmaids at each other's weddings, phone calls at 2 a.m. What she didn't know was that Tolu did not exist. It started on a Tuesday at Pepper and Salt restaurant, Lekki Phase 1. Kemi had good news. After 12 years of grinding, she had just been made creative director at Mosaic Media. She ordered peppered snails and Chapman and waited for Tolu, who was always exactly 7 minutes late. Tolu arrived at 1:07, sliding into her chair with a wide smile and a hug that smelled of Chanel No. 5, the same perfume since university. "Madam Creative Director, God is not asleep." They laughed, ate, talked the way women who've known each other a decade talk, in half sentences with no explanation needed. Then, a woman walked in, mid-50s, old Legos money. She scanned the room, her eyes landed on Tolu, and something crossed her face. Recognition, shock, old anger. She turned and walked straight back out without a word. "Did you see that woman?" Kemi asked. "She was staring at you." Tolu was already on her phone. "What woman? How's Deji and the kids?" Kemi let it go. She would spend the next 6 months wishing she hadn't. 3 weeks later, Kemi's phone buzzed with an unknown number. "My name is Remy Coker. I'm a private investigator. I need to speak with you about the woman you know as Toluani Fashola. This cannot be sent by text. Please call me." They met at a coffee shop in Victoria Island. Remy placed a brown envelope on the table and kept her hand on it. "How long have you known this woman?" 15 years, since Unilag, Kemi said. "In 15 years. Have you ever visited her family in Ibadan? Met her parents? Attended any event in her hometown?" Kemi opened her mouth, then closed it. There had always been a reason: a sick relative, a private funeral, a quiet redirection. "No," she said quietly. Remy slid the envelope across. Inside were photographs. A woman who looked exactly like Tolu. Same face, same dimple on the left cheek, standing in front of a Surulere house. Younger, laughing at a birthday cake. The name on the cake was not Tolu. It was Sade. "Her real name is Shademola Coker. She is my niece. She disappeared 14 years ago after a family crisis, and has been living as someone else ever since. My sister, her mother, is dying. She has one request: to see her daughter one last time. No courts, no police, just a mother who wants to say goodbye." Kemi didn't sleep that night. She lay beside her husband staring at the ceiling, trying to fit 15 years of memories into a shape that could hold this new truth. Every birthday, every 2 a.m. call, every time Tolu had shown up with pepper soup when Kemi's world was falling apart. Was any of it real? By 4 a.m. she had her answer: something built on a lie can still be real. But Tolu deserved to know that the walls were closing in. Saturday. Tolu arrived at Kemi's Bagata home at 11 a.m. with a bowl of fried plantain. She walked in the way she always did, like she lived there. Kemi put the birthday photograph on the table between them. No words, just the photograph. Tolu looked at it for a long time. The apartment was silent. A hawker shouted outside. A generator hummed. Lagos was going about its normal day, completely unbothered by the fact that 15 years of friendship were unraveling in this living room. Tolu still had not spoken. Kemi waited. Finally, barely above a whisper. How? A private investigator contacted me. Her name is Remy Coker. She says she is your aunt. Tolu's jaw tightened. Your mother is dying, Kemi said quietly. She wants to see you. Something cracked open in Tolu's face. Not the warmth, not the humor. Something older. The face of a woman who had been carrying something enormous for so long, her spine had curved around it. You don't know what that family is, she said. Yes, I took money and I ran. But do you know why I needed to run? My mother's brother. For 3 years. And when I finally told my mother, she chose to believe him. Because he was the one with the money. She gave her own daughter an ultimatum to protect a man who had destroyed her. The room tilted. The money I took was payment for 3 years of silence she asked me to keep. I don't feel guilty. Not one at all. She stood, picked up her bag, left the plantain on the table. I'll think about it, she said, and walked out into the Lagos sun. 4 days of silence. Then, Remy called. My sister passed this morning. Kemi's chest hollowed. I gave Tolu the message. I tried. I know. Sade came 2 nights ago. She sat with her mother for 3 hours. I wasn't there. She asked me to stay away, but before my sister closed her eyes, she told the nurse something. What? She said, tell my daughter I know, that I always knew, and that I am sorry I chose wrong. Then came the twist. My sister changed her will in her final week. The house in Surulere, a property in Ibadan, a fixed deposit. She left everything to Shade but, to claim it, Shade must present herself in court as Shade Mola Coker, her legal name, the identity she buried 14 years ago. The identity she had run from would now have to walk back into the light, not in shame, but to claim what her mother had left her as a final act of love. Kemi drove to Tolu's house that evening. Benny opened the door, read Kemi's face, and quietly went to the backyard. Tolu was in the kitchen, cooking in silence. Kemi sat down and told her everything. Tolu stirred the pot without speaking for a long time. Then she turned off the gas. If I walk into that courtroom, he wins. He gets to make it about the money I took instead of what he did. Or, Kemi said, you walk in as a woman who survived something terrible, rebuilt her whole life, and came back to sit with her dying mother when she didn't have to. And you let the judge see exactly who you are. Tolu looked at her. 15 years. You've known me 15 years, and you still showed up. You showed up for me first, Kemi said. Every single time. Tolu filed the legal documents 3 weeks later. The uncle's lawyers tried to use the stolen money against her. Her lawyer used 14 years of silence she never had to keep, and a nurse's written testimony of a dying woman's last words. The judge ruled in Tolu's favor. She sold the Surulere house. She kept the Ibadan land. She put half the inheritance into a quiet foundation. No public name that funds legal support for women who cannot afford to fight back. She never changed her name back. 6 months later, the uncle walked into Lagos State Police Command, brought there by a formal complaint from a woman whose name he hadn't heard in 14 years. She had decided silence was no longer something she owed him. Some people change their names to hide. Some change them to survive. Tolu was not a lie. She was an escape route that became a life. The question I want to leave with you is this. If your best friend of 15 years had a secret identity, not out of wickedness, but out of survival, would you stay? Drop your answer in the comments. Share this story with someone who needs to hear it.